Hi, thanks for joining us for this week's edition of Renewing the Mind. At our worship service at our house a couple of weeks ago, I used a passage from Revelation chapter 7 to help show that racism is an affront to God. It's a beautiful, inspirational passage, and it absolutely supports the point on racism that I was making that day. But I was so moved by the passage as I was studying it to prepare my sermon that I wanted to take another look at it today and see an even bigger meaning that should give all of us who love God a great deal of encouragement. In chapter 7 of the book of Revelation, the Apostle John has been given a vision of how the world will end. This is how he describes what he saw, beginning in verse 13. After this I looked, and there before me was a great multitude that no one could count, from every nation, tribe, people, and language, standing before the throne and before the Lamb. They were wearing white robes and were holding palm branches in their hands. These are they who have come out of the great tribulation. They have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Therefore, they are before the throne of God and serve him day and night in his temple. And he who sits on the throne will shelter them with his presence. Never again will they hunger. Never again will they thirst. The sun will not beat down on them, nor any scorching heat. For the Lamb at the center of the throne will be their shepherd. He will lead them to springs of living water, and God will wipe away every tear from their eyes. The point that I made in my earlier sermon on racism is that we are given a glimpse of the end of the world. And what we see is that before the throne of God are a great multitude from every nation, tribe, people, and language who are being gathered together to spend eternity in the presence of God. No one is excluded because of the color of their skin or their nationality or their language. That's because those factors are irrelevant to God. He made us in his image, and he made us in all different colors, from all different nations, with all different languages. And his plan for salvation includes all of those groups. God is only concerned with our hearts. He does not make distinctions based on color or heritage or immigrant status, and neither should we. But there's an even bigger message in this passage. These people from all nations, people groups, and languages are gathered at the throne of God as the world is coming to an end, and God is preparing to shelter them with his presence for all eternity. Never again will they hunger. Never again will they thirst. The scorching heat will not beat down on them. God will lead them to springs of living water and will wipe away every tear from their eyes. The point here is that we win. Though the world comes to a disastrous end in earthly terms, believers in Jesus Christ have the promise of spending eternity in the presence of God. Whatever pain, whatever suffering we have endured during our earthly lives is not only worth it, it's gone forever. The end is already written, and we win. I think it's important to remind ourselves of this from time to time. God has given us a peek at how the story ends, and for those who believe in Jesus Christ, we all live happily ever after. It's hard to keep that ending in mind when we are in the middle of difficult times like we are now. This COVID thing is something totally different than anything we have experienced before. It's gone on for 4 months, and there's no end in sight. We keep thinking things will get back to normal, but normal seems pretty far off. And even when it gets here, it seems like normal will never be the way it was. Then we add to that the pain that racism is again causing our country, and the way it feels that we have lacked progress on combating racism over the past 50 years. Well, it's pretty easy to feel lost and without hope for the future. But our God is bigger than even these problems. He is our rock and our salvation. These problems do not affect him the way they affect us. He has already planned how the world will end, already planned who will spend eternity with him. Even problems as seemingly big as COVID and racism do not change that. Jesus told us that heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. The ending is not just planned, it is already written in stone. We win. So the next time things seem hopeless, whether it is today, tomorrow, or next month, whether it is COVID or racism or your own personal trial, remember the vision God gave to John in the book of Revelation. Think of what it will feel like for God to wipe away every tear from your eyes and to spend eternity in his presence, drinking from his springs of living water. God's got this. It's all in his plan. And his plan will happen. In the end, we win. Have a great week. God bless you. Peace.